Alright guys, I want to start off this video by saying I am not a professional landscaper or a professional lawnmower by any means. I had to pick up a new lawnmower for a commercial spot that I own, and I had a choice between the John Deere Mulch on-demand deck or the John Deere new Rear-Discharge. Being that this is a commercial property with a lot of parking spaces around it, I wanted to reduce my risk of anything coming out the side or anyone believing that something came out the side and hit their car, so I went with the Rear-Discharge deck. I'm going to go over that Rear-Discharge deck, show you everything that it does well and maybe some things that it doesn't. There are advantages and disadvantages to every deck out there. We'll compare it to the Mulch on-demand deck that I have for at home. I also have a Mulch on-demand deck with a bagger at our property, so I'll kind of go over it all. Stick with us. First things first, here is the Mulch on-demand deck on this new John Deere 930M. You can see that I can trim on both sides. They do have a padding there, so it's hard to get right next to something, but there's no issue trimming on either side. And in the back there are gates that close this off. This is rubber, and then there's another rubber piece in the center. That is important because some people leave these rear discharge decks open, which means they do a little bit less of a job mulching things up to a point, and they can windrow easier. Now a rear discharge deck can windrow easier than a side discharge deck, but what most people do with the side discharge decks is remove this chute, which makes it incredibly dirty for the guy on the mower because all that grass comes on top of him. With these rear guards in place, we actually do get quite a bit of suction. We're cutting at 3.75 inches, and you can see by looking underneath the mower that there is suction in front, and then there is a wind that is pushing down near those guards in the back, and there's not a lot of grass coming out the back that you can see on the camera, and we're not leaving any windrows here. That's probably the best case scenario that you're keeping up on your lawn, and with either style of mower deck, you're not going to leave windrows. Realistically, windrows are going to come when you get into taller grass that hasn't been cut in a while, and that's why I wanted to hit this ditch bank and just give you an idea of what will happen on some really tall grass. So as we cut through this, the mower has zero issue going through it, but you can look behind and see that we are leaving 2 rows basically of grass that's sitting on top. That is going to be unavoidable with either style. The only difference is we're leaving it directly behind us here compared to pushing it off in one direction, and in this case we could mow this ditch in either way and leave the windrows. If we had the side discharge, it would end up throwing it in the ditch or throwing it in the lawn. You could make your choice there. Mulching, you would have a horrible experience in this, so it's all goods and bads of what each mower will do. But this rear discharge here would have taken care of it. If we went over it a second time, you wouldn't have even known it was there. So I think that is a benefit, although time conserving in a commercial setting. You don't want to mow twice. That is why people remove the chutes and let them go. By far the largest benefit to the rear discharge deck to me is going to be in a commercial property. I can trim on the right or the left, and the mower deck is not offset one way or another, so it's easy for me just to go around different items very fast and make sure that I'm not throwing any of those grass clippings out and into a parking lot. That liability taken off of me, although I still have to be careful. I don't want to throw things out the back, but the chances of that happening are significantly reduced, and I really like that fact here. Is it something that I would do for my home? No, I'd still stick with the Mulch on demand deck. I really like that option that I can throw grass around if I need to, or leaves, move them away, mulch them up. There's a lot of great options over there, although it's not perfect, but in a commercial setting, this guy is going to be perfect. But the few things that I've noticed around the outer wheels in the rear, you do get some grass that will come up. It's not a big deal, but it does come out of here quite a bit, especially you'll notice it if you're around fences or anything like that. If you're in tall grass, you'll also see it come out there. They just didn't get that rubber super close to the wheel, but I don't think that that makes a difference at all. My concern was that that grass was going to build up on this deck in the back, and I did get quite a bit of grass buildup back here, but that buildup seems to be coming from the tires while I watch the video rather than from that grass that is leaking out of these open areas. I do not see a large difference between the amount of grass buildup on the rear discharge deck or the side discharge deck, and in this case I don't see where I'll have a problem with any cooling or any of the grass clippings getting up around the motor on the John Deere system. I have heard of that on some other ones, but this rear discharge deck just simply lays the grass down, and I don't have it flying all over the back of the machine or even over the back center portion of the deck. Cut quality with the rear discharge has been excellent. I think because of those gates that are in the back that allow it to suction this up at higher levels. If you look around here, you can see there are some clippings left. This is an area of grass that does grow much faster for me, so I was cutting 5-inch grass here down to 3 3/4. So you'll see a little bit of grass clippings that are sitting on top. That doesn't bother me. There's a spot that I missed straight ahead. That is completely my fault. But other than that, cut quality is the same as the other decks I've used. Overall, would I choose this deck for my home use, or I can't tell you about your main commercial use, but for home, even with a lot of trees to go around, I would probably say no. I would choose the Mulch on Demand deck as I have more options, and I can normally mulch everything in and enjoy that portion and not have any windrowing behind me, even if I let the grass grow a little bit too long. In a commercial setting, I like to remove the liability. That liability of not throwing stones around. Even if someone sees a chute and I'm mulching, they could have a stone hit their car at some other point and then still blame it on me because they think I'm throwing grass clippings their way. So in this case, for commercial use, I enjoy the lesser liability. Maybe I'll have some windrowing, but I'll also be able to get around trees, get around buildings, and get around these tight areas on the right or left-hand side. So that's huge for me, and it might be for you also, depending on your property. So I think it comes down to really what you need, and knowing everything that you know at this point in time, hopefully that'll let you have a little more confidence in your decision, to say the least. So thanks for sticking around, guys. If you haven't, give us a like in this video, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate your time. Have a great day.